wicked.
All right.
Shamanism. Welcome to With Insights Radio. I'm your host, Iggy Garcia. I will take you on a journey across the universe through shamanism, metaphysical, and holistic. So sit back and relax and enjoy the show.
How's it going, guys? Welcome to WithinsightsRadio.com. I am Iggy Garcia, and I want to say hello to everybody. Thanks for tuning in. This is episode 26 of Iggy Garcia, the Naked Shaman Live. The reason we're doing a Naked Shaman show is because my sidekick is actually on vacation. She is in South Carolina and enjoying time with her mom and her sister and her stepdad. So, and the two dogs are hanging out at the beach. But I'm going to bring him on real quick to see how things are going. Hey.
Hi there.
How's things at the beach?
The beach is beautiful.
Good.
Yeah, it's all good.
Good.
How are you?
Well, I won't. Good. I won't keep you on too long because I know you're doing things with your family. But I just want to let everybody know that you didn't quit, you didn't leave. It's not like you disappeared.
No. Actually,
you're just
I'm gonna. Since you put me on, I'm gonna put a plug in for tomorrow's show, though.
Oh, then go ahead.
I'm excited to do a Lion's Lair tomorrow, and of course you'll be with me as my producer and co-host. But we have not had a Lion's Lair for a long time, so we're excited to also bring on a guest, Joe Van Dyke, and he's a very interesting person, and the lair is a safe place to talk about those things that make you go, And that's what we can expect for tomorrow's show. We're going to have some interesting topics to explore along the conspiracy theory line. So, but I'm glad you're doing the show tonight, and I'm glad you popped in. Yeah, I miss you guys. And next week, God willing, we'll be back to our normal schedule. But send some extra prayers this way. I'm glad you're doing a show on manifest because I wanted some people here to be able to listen in also as far as manifesting things into your life and how are you doing it. So looking forward to your show.
Right.
Thanks for what you do.
Okay. Very good, Adriana. Thank you for calling in. Tomorrow, for those of you who are on the live stream, Adriana's on the mic. That's why you guys can't hear her. She has her show, The Lion's Lair, at 7 p.m. That's Tuesday. That's tomorrow. She'll be actually doing an interview with Joost Van Dyke, who is actually all into conspiracy theories and all kinds of cool stuff. So I hope you guys can tune in tomorrow as well. So I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna let you go back to your vacation, and I will continue here with Insights Radio. Thanks for talking a little bit. All right. Bye-bye.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Welcome to the show. So it's been a while since I've done a solo show. I think it's last month I did one. And I try to get two in at least. Iggy Garcia Live is just me being myself. And the Naked Shaman, of course, I've got clothes on because, it just might not work too well. And I'm not quite there yet. I'm still working out. So either way. But I hope everything's going well for everybody. I hope everybody's enjoying their time in the spring now that we've come out of winter. I know it's been very difficult. So I actually want to I want to light a candle, okay, for hopefully get this done here. I want to light a candle for people who people who I know who have transitioned, people who have decided that they were no longer going to be in this physical plane. And for those who didn't expect to transition, it just kind of happened very suddenly. And for those who knew they were sick and waiting for their turn to depart and go to wherever they go. So I light this candle, this little white candle, for purification, for cleansing, and for honoring them. And I'll have this on for the whole show, just a candle burning in the light, and just a reminder how precious and how I can't even talk. I'm just looking at the flame and just getting caught in emotion, a wave of emotions here. Life is very precious and it's very short. And we're here one day and we're gone tomorrow, and a lot of us, we struggle in life sometimes to get what we want or achieve what we think we deserve. But this candle is just a reminder for everybody who has transitioned, and for those who are ill, those who have, somebody that they haven't seen or haven't been with for a long time. I know a lot of us have had friends and family that we've disassociated with, or just decided that it wasn't a good fit anymore. And that's one of those things about being a human being. It's not always, how we plan it. We were born into this world, and we see things. I don't know how to say this. We see things in a way that, has been programmed inside of us by the people before us. So a lot of times, the struggles that we take on are actually struggles of our ancestors. Usually, mostly our parents, our family, our friends, and people that are really close to us. And, some of us are fortunate enough and lucky enough to move out of that energy and move into another energy that is more positive and more enlightening, more open for them. But other of us never learn and never get to that place. I've been doing this work for quite some time now, and I've seen the whole gamut of healing, and that healing is self-healing, and the belief that people put into someone or some things or belief systems or, just where they are. I've seen people in sweat lodge. I've seen people, in ceremony, in drumming. I've seen people, just let go, and I've seen people, heal. Very simple, very easy. But it's really not easy. It's a preparation. We're all preparing to work on pieces and parts of ourselves and those aspects of ourselves. And so that's what I wanted to talk a little bit about, manifesting. Manifesting your dreams, manifesting money, manifesting a generator, manifesting abundance. I don't care what you're trying to manifest. It all starts in here, in our head, in our programming. It doesn't matter who you are. It really doesn't. Manifestation is something that everybody has. Everybody has the ability to manifest. Everybody has that ability to do what's good for them. And some of us just never were taught. Some of us never were taught how to do that. And I totally understand that. I totally get that. I was never really truly taught how to manifest. I was taught how to work super hard. And if I worked super hard and if I was dedicated and I put tons of hours into something, then I was going to get results. And those results would, award me things that, other people wouldn't get because I did it. But I also, know in this country we actually honor the workaholic too, the person who just works until he just can't move or she can't move. I mean, why do we honor that? Why do we worship? Why do we say, hey, oh man, he's a hard worker, blah blah blah? I think it's there's part of it is a way to prove that we're worthy to work. My father, for example, is a workaholic. He gets his validation through working his butt off. I mean, when he works his butt off, I'm seriously saying that he is working his butt off. Because my dad, he validates his efforts and the things he does through the things he fixes and the things that he repairs, and they need repaired and they need fixed. No one's discounting that. But the thing about what he does is he doesn't necessarily have other people do the work for him, which he possibly could. And it would probably save him a lot of money and time. But I find that he really has to prove to himself and aspects of himself why it works and why he actually has to do it. He went to the hospital just this year, had his gallbladder surgery, and you know what? He was already talking about what he was going to fix and what he was going to work on. And, the best example I can give you is that his building that he owns is like his ship. It's his place. It's his stomping ground. It's his baby. He has to make sure that it's running efficiently and doing well, because part of him also believes that, one day when he passes, when he transitions, that no one else is going to take care of his baby the same way. And I honestly, truthfully have to say that's probably a half-truth. That's probably true to some extent. No one will ever work as hard as my dad, the way he did, necessarily in our family. Everybody works hard, but I don't think everybody will have the same dedication in something that he actually had a dream and the desire to create and manifest. And this is why I wanted to bring this up today, this show about, how are you manifesting? So I look at my father, for example, and I'll give you the story of my dad because stories are important. Stories are how we learn. My father immigrated from, immigrated from South America, Peru, here to the United States. He came here as a young man in his 20s. He came before, first, then his family came after, my mom and my sister and myself. But his goal was to have more and to be better and to live that American dream and to just be able to experience something that he probably couldn't experience in Peru. I mean, he actually had very good jobs and very good opportunities in Peru, so he didn't really have to leave. But he just, in those days, there was something about coming here to America and building your dream, your land of make-believe, your Alice in Wonderland, your dream, your goals, whatever you want to call it, your Disney worlds. Because, America has that nostalgia and it has that defies all norms. Most people looking out from outside, looking into America, see it as a very big land of opportunity, a land where I can make something of myself, something where, I can, if I work just hard enough, smart enough, and delegate just enough, I'm going to get what I want. Now the world has changed a little bit now, so you can go different places in different countries and succeed as well. I mean, there's successful people all over the world, but America has that mystique, has that thing that I can't explain. Even as myself, an immigrant as well, because I also immigrated with them. I had a different view on the life. I was raised in a different way to accept, to look, and to, appreciate America. I remember my dad used to tell me, he goes, we're immigrants. We have to work hard. We have to set the foundation for our families. We have to do what, immigrants do. They go out of their way and they create and they build. And then my brothers and sisters are all first generation born here. But, that always stuck with me. My dad would tell me that, we're immigrants. And he was so proud of that. There was so much pride and joy in being an immigrant, somebody who's come from another country and just proved everybody wrong in his country and where he came from, and to do better and to succeed. And, in his rightful way, in his own mind, he's very successful. Other people probably say, he could probably done more. But he's done enough to what he wanted to do. He's got more than he probably ever dreamt he would have. And he's very content and very happy with what he's manifested. And, my father's kind of one of those guys, he's very opinionated. He has his ideas about things. And when he does his real estate transactions, when he buys buildings, he only buys brick buildings. He doesn't buy anything except for brick. That's just his standard. He won't go any further than, maybe 5-mile radius from where he works so he can work on his buildings. And that's how he sets himself up. That's how he anchors himself. But, and I'm thinking this young man, probably, how old was my dad? He was in his 20s. I know that, mid-20s. And, he came to America and, he wanted more. And here's a guy, my mom and my dad, because my mom came later. And I remember leaving Peru, being in the airport and, not really knowing what was going on. But the only thing I remember is, waving goodbye to my grandmother and saying goodbye to my uncles and everybody that I loved. And then jumping on the TWA. I jumped on the TWA and there I am. Trans World Airlines, for those of you who wonder what TWA, it's no longer exists anymore. And that's how I came to America. I immigrated on a TWA. Came on a plane. That's how I got here. It's kind of funny when I think about it. And then I walked into this new world, this whole world. I didn't even speak English. I was 3 going on 4, and trying to simulate, trying to adjust and come, wondering where my grandmother is, where my uncles, where my cousins are. And now they're not with me. So I also had to adjust. My mom had to adjust. And, one of my dad's earliest businesses, he worked, actually before he had business, he worked at Kroger's and Big Bear. He worked at both stores. One store he worked in the bakery, and the other store he was the janitor. You know, and when he worked there, but before he even started those jobs, he worked at a restaurant called Jack and Benny's. And Jack and Benny's, excuse me, folks, I'm going to have to take a little water here, so I do apologize to clear my throat a little bit. Woo, good old H2O, quality H2O. Well, you know, when my dad came here, he was a busboy, you know, and a dishwasher. And, you know, his first job, he always tells me this. He goes, you know, when I came to, you know, Ohio, you know, to live with my uncle, your Uncle Juan, you know, I got a job at Jack and Benny's. I'll tell you a little story about Jack and Benny's in a minute. And my first job was to scrape gum off Broad and High. That was my job. People would dump the gum. You know, Benny Klein told me, hey, I need you to scrape the gum off. And he called my dad Garcia. Never called him Gino, just called him Garcia. Hey, Garcia, I need you to scrape the gum off the floor. That was my dad's job. He was a gum scraper. His very first job. And he probably didn't make very much money, you know. And then little by little, after he worked at Jack and Benny's, he would go to the Sheraton. He would work at the Sheraton. And then he would work at, I believe it's the Christopher Inn. I believe it's a building that was there. But that was my dad. He was a hustler. He worked hard. You know, he knew he had to survive. In order to live, he had to work hard. But he also had a spouse who was very supportive, too. So that's also important, too, I thought, because there are spouses who don't want you to work that hard. They want you to be home. They want you to be there. But that, all stories aside with that one, but kind of talking about my dad and his manifestation and my mom's manifestation. You know, over time, my dad worked at Kroger's. You know, he was in the Big Bear and the bakeries, like I was saying earlier, and he was a janitor in one of the stores. And, you know, that was his life for a while. But then he wanted more. He wanted more. He wanted to achieve more. He wanted to express himself more and be able to declare his independence from, you know, the clock, the person who actually, you know, you have to work 2-3 times harder in order to get paid because someone has to make money off of the product to pay you and blah, 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 and so on down the line, you know, because they have to make so much money in order to pay you. But my dad knew, you know, most people who go into business, you know, who are attempting to go into business, they know that it costs something they have to sell so much product in order to get paid. You know, in order to get paid, you have to work, for those of you in business. So your employees that you have to support them, and the way you support them is through the products and services you have. So my dad what he would do, you know, his little car he ended up buying, he would actually collect beer cans and bottles and newspapers and all the different things like that. Because back then they used to recycle everything. They used to actually give you money for, you know, bottles and newspapers and aluminum. Aluminum they still do. Papers, not nearly as much, but the value was different. You know, we were in a time where we were conserving, and, you know, it was the time where we had to, you know, do those kind of things. But my dad was a junk man. My father was a junk man. I've been a junk man. It's the funnest business ever. You know, the junk business, you know, that's what he did. He collect junk, other people's stuff. I remember, you know, my dad, people throwing out great, you know, brand new beds, you know, because they didn't like it, you know. And my dad would bring home stuff that was brand new. Sometimes it was scuffed up. You know, the treasures he would find, you know, being out there and you know, driving around the neighborhoods like people do. He said the best time for him was when Ohio State would actually go through the fall session. The fall session, he said people would just throw out all kinds of crazy stuff. I mean, some things were brand new. He said there were so many things that sometimes he didn't have enough room to haul this stuff. But, you know, it's just amazing, you know, how just things were just tossed out, he said. And that's how he ended up, you know, doing his junk business. He would just buy things and sell things and trade things. And sometimes he would take things to the thrift store. But the cool thing was, you know, eventually, you know, with time, he progressed. And then he eventually bought a step-up van. And this step-up van, he would use it to fill the truck even more with more stuff. And he saved his money and just kept saving, because there was a time where you could probably save better. I'm not sure. But he would fill his truck up with newspapers and cans and metal. He'd go around and just pile it up. And I remember going with him. He'd pick us up from school, and we'd all get in there and you know, newspapers at the top. But that's what my dad did. That's what the immigrant spirit, this guy who was willing to do whatever it took to, you know, survive. And that's what my father did. And my mom would help as well. He ended up putting my mom into beauty school. You know, my mom ended up working, you know, as a cosmetologist for many years. You know, he paid, you know, for that through all the hard work he did. He just went in there. And my mom also very successful, you know, in her right. But the amazing thing about his story is, he ended up taking that truck and converting it into an ice cream truck. He started to, you could see him phasing into the different things, that he was moving through. So if you're catching on here real quick, what's happening, what I'm trying to tell you about the manifestation is, as my father progressed through his development as number one, as a person living in this country, he was also developing his dreams. He started off as someone working, scraping gum. He progressed into, someone being a janitor and a baker. And then he progressed, collecting junk in his car. He kept progressing, kept changing, kept, setting the goal and changing the bar and raising it higher. And to one point, he sold ice cream. But that's the manifestation. He was manifesting because he was creating. He was, I accomplished this, now I'm going to manifest into the next thing. So he probably didn't even really think about it. Maybe he did. Maybe I don't give him enough credit. But I know how sometimes the way my dad kind of thinks about things, he doesn't do anything just to do it. He has a plan, and he has a purpose. And so he manifests himself into an ice cream truck, Garcia's Ice Cream. And he would ring that bell, and he would be driving through the worst neighborhoods that nobody wanted to go to. And he went also to the rich neighborhoods, in Upper Arlington and Bexley. That's what he did. And he would sell his, his ice cream and his sodas, his Fagos, those little bags, with the little, look like Capri Suns. You just pop them and you put little straws in them and drink them. They had no labels on the outside, and I forget what they're called, but those are like my favorite thing. But, my dad progressed through that. And, my dad, he even sold shots of tequila and bourbon and whiskey in his truck. And I kid you not. I remember when the police pulled him over one time because someone had reported him selling alcohol. And you know what? And my dad would collect food stamps because he would sell food in this truck. My dad was he had one of the first food trucks, in here in Columbus. And, I remember the police coming in, and they look, and they were looking at all the certificates and all the licenses on the wall of the truck. And, everything cleared. Everything was fine. And my dad's like, yeah, it's all there. But the police couldn't believe it. But they did tell him he couldn't sell alcohol in the truck. They didn't think that was appropriate and had to get some kind of licensure from that. But, now they have bicycles that they pedal down High Street, and people are drinking on the bus, on this little bus and this table. So it's amazing to see this one human being that I personally know, him and my mother, that's two, and how they manifested, how they created. But one day, and I'm telling you the story because this story has validity to what I'm going to be sharing here in a little bit. One day he knew that he had to change occupation. And so he ended up actually starting a dog kennel, at the same time as he was doing the ice cream. He would sell that. He had kennel and then he had the ice cream, but one had to give. So eventually we got out of the dog business because it was just too much work. It was crazy. I hated that business because I remember having to clean the, all the kennels and stuff. But I liked the ice cream. It was a lot of fun because we were always dealing with somebody. Somebody was there. And I want to say hi to everybody on the live stream. I do apologize. I haven't been saying hi to everybody. You guys are awesome. Thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Kind of talking about manifestation. I'm telling the story about my father, my mother, and the story of the immigrants. The story of me, my life. I'm an immigrant. For most of you know, I was born in Peru and I immigrated with my folks. So I'm telling the story about the ice cream truck. So this ice cream truck, one day, this is when it's time to change business. I remember this was really scary. We pulled up into a neighborhood called Mount Vernon, and this little boy comes up and he wanted ice cream. And my dad's like, well, you have to pay. And the little boy said he did pay. He gave the money. Supposedly he put it up on the ledge there that he had. And then the father showed up. The father came. And he had a shot. He had a gun. He had like a gun and pointed at my dad. He was just like, I want my son's ice cream. Blah blah blah. And the guy says, my son gave you the money. And then my mom out of nowhere pulls this shotgun out, and she's like, you better back off. And the guy's like, ooh. And the little boy, when everybody backed up, he found the money on the bottom of the street, where it had fallen. He had not realized that it had fallen. But my mom and my dad that day decided that, it was time to change, businesses. Time to move on. And so that was kind of one of those wake-up moments where you decide, it's time to manifest something else. My mom's always been really good at manifesting, things from their lives. My dad put himself through school. He went to ROTC, became a second lieutenant in the military, in the Army, while he was doing this. But I remember one day he sat me, Rose, and Gino down on the bed. He goes, we can continue doing the ice cream business, or we can do something else. And he gave us all these different options. And then for some reason, he talked about restaurants. He brought up a restaurant. He wanted to do a restaurant. He always wanted to do a restaurant. And I tell you, I think I was the only one who didn't want to do the restaurant. I think Gino and Rose, my mom, everybody wanted to do the restaurant because my mom was a hell of a cook, man. She still is. And I tell you, we sat there and we all decided that, we're going to open a restaurant. And, eventually they called it Garcia's Internazionale. It's called Garcia's Internazionale. Okay, so, he wanted to make a restaurant that was unique, very different, very appealing, and it served food from all over. And, and JP, who you are online, the Garcias, we grew up together playing basketball on the back, the Casa Courts. So I'm glad you're on the air. But, my dad rented a building on Hudson and High, 2573 North High. And, when he went in there, and I remember the guy saying, there's only been 3 restaurants, 3 businesses here. There's been Metzger's, Agresti, no, there's 4 with us, Raggedy Ann, and then Fifth String. So that's 5. I take that back. There's only been 5 businesses in there. And that was, 2 were families and 2 were bars, and then us. So 5, businesses that had been there for a long period of time. And then one day, we walked in there. I think I was like 12 years old. I believe. I'd walk to school, ride the bus, blah, blah, blah. And I remember walking in, and, there was holes in the basement. Hey, Doug, what's up, man? And there was holes in the back of the bar at Garcia's, these big, huge holes, and, the ceiling had holes, and there was all kinds of things. The landlord told my dad, you fix it, you can rent it, blah, blah, blah. This is how much it's going to cost you. And, I remember my dad working on that stuff and, fixing that things. And, and it was a lot of work. But I also remembered my life changed that day because I was used to doing, running around and hanging out with my buds and friends from school. And I knew that our lives had changed at that moment to be in the restaurant business. And I remember coming late to the restaurant, and my dad was so PO'd. He's like, where you been? And I'm like, well, this is the time I always get home. But he didn't know that because he was always working. He was always, doing his thing. And then, progression moved on. And my dad, with his restaurant, it progressed and got better and better and better. Got really busy. There weren't too many restaurants like that. I mean, he served all kinds of food. He served deviled eggs, Russian deviled eggs, and Peruvian stuffed potatoes, hamburgers, chilies, you name it. He had it. And then one day, like any good businessman, he goes, you know what? I don't want to do this, but I have to do this. He goes, because we used to serve Peruvian food a lot, but it's not making us money, and I'm not in the business to be educating people. So we changed our whole menu over to Latin American cuisine, a little bit more on the Mexican side, and the place went crazy. He made margaritas and went crazy, and, my dad was he was the story. My mom was the back of the house. My dad was the front of the house. These 2 immigrants working their butts off to manifest their dreams, to have things for their family, to have things that, they didn't have in Peru. And then, little by little, as they grew, as things expanded, he ended up, buying the building that he was in. He bought another building. He took the money, instead of spending it, he actually invested it in himself, invested it into the product that he created, which was Garcia's. And then later on down the road, he created Jack and Benny's, in tribute to where his first job was. Now my brother owns Jack and Benny's. I owned it for a while, stepped away from it. Now my brother has 3 Jack and Benny's. There's one downtown, one at the OSU airport, and the one next to Garcia's on Hudson and High. But that's what happens when you have these dreams, where a dream can take you, where you can manifest. So what we're going to do now is kind of transition. That was the story of my family and the things that they went through and the things that they had gone through. So if you watched, and those of you who've been on the air with me here listening, you probably noticed there was a pattern. There was probably something going on. And, I never saw my dad do it, but I know he wrote things down, and I know he read books, and I know that he was actually really into, studying the people before him, people who were successful, people who were, into what he's doing. But, it was one of those things where he solidified his dream. I mean, but it was multiple dreams. It wasn't just one dream. It wasn't like he was hanging on to one little dream. He was hanging on to multiple dreams. He had multiple dreams of what he wanted to do and how he was going to do it. Now, whatever was going through his head, however it was rattling through there, I know he put it on paper. I never got to read that. But, he was very specific, because when I've asked my dad in the past about creating, he says, everything's a gold mine. My dad says, everything's a gold mine if it's mined properly. And, and that stuck with me. Mining is one of those things, if it's mined properly, then you'll have success. Because I remember my father used to tell me the stories about, the gold rush here in America, how many people were actually, going out west, and they were digging through the lands and, tearing it up and, panning in the streams. But he told me the story was many people who had gone there, and they would dig and dig and dig, and you know what? And a lot of people would go broke because they were just digging it. But a lot of people would sell their equipment off to people, and then just a few meters over, they would move the equipment and they would hit gold. And that's what's crazy about manifesting and dreaming, is sometimes we don't readjust our dreams and our goals. We keep plugging in the same hole over and over and over, and we're going to expect same results over and over and over. But if we would just change our perception, change our perspective, and just move into another direction, to the right or to the left, we might find something, that will move us into the proper, place that we need to be. And so these people would actually, new people would come in, and the first thing, boom, they hit and they find gold. But that's just the story of America. That's how it is. But my father also told me, and how this is how it's kind of, when people are thinking and looking on, when to jump on, an opportunity. Well, one of the first people who, during the, Western, times when they were doing the gold digging, they had people who actually opened up cafes and restaurants. Okay, one of the families that opened up a coffee shop was the Folgers family. Okay, Folgers sells coffee. So the Folger family ended up, during the gold rush, they were actually selling food and coffee and then the different things. And there was other people who had room and board, and they were making money. But here are people capitalizing on other opportunities on top of the opportunity that's there. So sometimes, we are manifesting and dreaming, and we're creating, but sometimes we fail to see that the dream and the manifestation actually can be created upon other dreams and other people's, coattails and other people's ideas and stuff. So that's what's pretty amazing. And so during the gold rush, the manifestation was people wanted gold. People were looking for gold, and people were looking for a way to, become wealthy, to become powerful, and find ways. Same with oil. But any time when these people were actually manifesting, there was somebody else. There was another group of people who were also manifesting. Okay, number one, these gold rushers, they need money. These 49ers, they need money, and they're going to have money, and they're going to find pieces of gold. Well, they need to eat. They need to drink. They need to sleep. They need some entertainment. They need something going on. So you have a whole other group of people manifesting and creating dreams and creating money and creating the generator of abundance. So, within that creation, within someone else's creation, another opportunity, there are other opportunities. But a lot of us don't see it that way. We sometimes we see it cut and dry. Oh, it's got to be this way. It's got to be this way. And some of us get stuck in that. So you got to, excuse me, pardon me. But anyhow, so what I'm trying to get at here, look at your situation right now. Okay? I'm not sure, maybe not everybody here on this show. Hi, how are you? Long time no see. I'm saying hi to everybody. So if I miss you, I apologize. But here's what I'm thinking. I'm not sure where everybody's at on this show or on this topic. Some of you want to achieve a business plan. Some of you want to achieve goals. Some of you just want to graduate from college. And this all applies. Manifestation applies on all this stuff. Okay, so I'm going to kind of bounce between the two, the business and, things that you just want in your normal life. So here's the cool thing about it. Okay? When I talk about creating dreams, when I'm talking about creating goals, what I'm really saying is you have to be specific about what it looks like, what it is, many of us, we say, hey, we want a car, Okay. And then, someone gives us a little gift, a little Matchbox car, as a gift. The universe is always listening. Always, always, always listening. The universe is always full of abundance. Always, always, always. It always says yes. It never says no. It always says yes. Do you want a brand new car? Yes. Do I get a car? Yes. Do I not get a car? Yes. Did I lose a car? Yes. So you get my point. The universe is just like that. The universe is very, 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 very specific. And for those of you who are not specific, you're going to get a variation of your yes or your dream, or you're going to struggle through it. Now, the dream, when I talk about this dream, be it financial freedom, cars, boats, trucks, homes, holistic business, a mate, a dog, or whatever. Once you start getting on track of what you want, you have to be very, 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 very. You have to like know what you want. It's like baking a cake. If you leave any ingredient out, you end up getting not cake. You'll get something that resembles cake. Maybe it becomes a brownie. I don't know. But if you don't do the ingredients properly, you will not receive what you got. You may have all the ingredients, okay? Like most of us all have all the ingredients to become successful. I have a great spirit. I have the stamina, I have my notebook. I have my course I'm taking, But most of us are missing ingredients. And those ingredients are very, 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 very important. If you want, let's just use one example. Okay, we're going to say Iggy wants a brand new truck. Okay, in this truck, I want a truck. So I've already stated that I want a truck. Well, the truck could be any truck, right? Well, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get a nice red fire engine truck, 4-wheel drive, okay, extended cab, 4 doors, okay, extended bed in the back, with a liner in the back, okay, with a hitch on the back so I can tow a boat. And then from that, when I open that door, the seats are going to be nice leather interior. Very nice, very smooth, red leather interior, okay? And when I sit in there, I can smell the leather. And if you don't like leather, change it, but this is my dream. It's nice red leather, steering wheel, nice and hot, cool, kick-ass sound system, because this is what I'm going to drive in. I want to enjoy this. I want to be in this thing. And when I turn that key on, boom, I want to hear that V8 engine roaring. I want to hear that. And when I push, I start putting in gear and I push the accelerator just enough, I can feel the power right behind it. Just a little tire. And then I start driving. And I can feel this thing and I'm driving it and man, it's mine. And I want it. So how do I get this dream? How do I get this car? How do I get this truck? I got specific because I really wanted but I left something out, didn't I? I left out what kind of truck I got. Well, I want a Dodge Dakota. Okay, 4-wheel drive, not real big, just big enough. Because I want it to be just kind of like me, not too tall, not too big. I just want it just perfect fit. But now that I have this dream in my head, now that I'm manifesting, I need to go sit in trucks. I need to go out there and actually sit, literally look and sit in trucks. And open the door, smell if they're not leather. If there's no leather in it, then I have to imagine. I have to cut out pictures. I got to put whatever, and I got to get out there and do it. That way, so my subconscious mind will start to become programmed, start to take in that information and deprogram all the things that I had there before. Because there's a lot of junk in there. There's a lot of stuff that people told me, no, you can't have a truck. Why are you going to have a truck? Why don't you get a car? Blah, blah, blah. Because it's my dream. Because it's my goal. It's what I want. It's not what you want. It's what I want. And when you start to let other people dictate what they want and you buy into it, and it's not your dream anymore. It's somebody else's dream. So now, the event. You have to construct the event, how you receive this thing. Construct an event. Who's with you? Who's with you at this event when you have your brand new truck? Who's there? Is it your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister? Construct the event. When you're driving this truck, you're going to go pick somebody up. Boop, boop. There you are. And they're like, wow, check out my truck, man. Check out these 4-wheel drive. Yeah, these wheels. It's a Dodge Dakota, man. It's red. It's badass. Jump in. Let's go for a ride. And then, but you have to be specific who you're going to pick up, just as well. See, the universe wants you to be specific. The universe wants you to say, hey, this is what I want. It's kind of like when you want to go eat something. You want to go to the store. When you're hungry, and you're specific about what you want to eat. It's the same way. We can't be vague. Vague does not work. And for those of you who have created things, or who have worked with me in the past, and who have, manifested things, this is something I talk about. Not to be vague. You have to be very specific. You have to construct what that looks like. And for those of you who don't want a truck and you want money and you want to create cash, first of all, you need to set an amount in your mind, and then you have to believe that you're there. You have to create it and see what it's like. But most of us never had that kind of money. So we have to work with small increments sometimes and work our way through until we get to that place. Kind of like the story of my dad when he was creating his manifestation, little by little, increments and increments. There as quickly, as fast as you want. Then when you start to move through, the dynamics of constructing what that looks like and you're receiving, and who's with you, what's that party look like, who's at the party, who's looking at your truck, are people gawking and awing at this thing? What are they doing? Because are you manifesting? How are you manifesting? That's what the show's about, is just how are you manifesting? If you're not manifesting, then you have to rewrite your story. Life is all about stories. Life is all about the things that happen to us and how we perceive life and how we perceive the people around us and how we perceive ourselves with those people and in those situations. When those people around us have the ability to influence our thought patterns and how we think about things, that's very crucial. That's very important to know that we have to be on our most powerful dream. No one should be able to steal your dream or steal your goals or steal your drive or your mojo. Can't happen. But every day it does happen. Now, the feeling. What is that feeling in you? When I'm talking about this feeling, it's like a feeling. It's not like you're already there. It's the feeling. What does it feel like to be in a truck like that? Try to go back in time a little bit and try to find places in your life when you had that feeling, when you wanted to do something that was really cool, very magical, very spiritual. For some of you, travel is a big thing. What's it feel like to travel? Do you remember what it felt like to travel? It's amazing. But you have to have the feeling, fun, dream. Then you have to construct, and then you have to have the feeling. Those are the top three. Dream, construct the event, and have the feeling. The feeling is as if I already have. I am there. I will catch up with that. It will be yours. It is yours. Because if you don't construct it and if you don't feel it, it's really hard to manifest it. Now, some of us are very powerful manifestors, and we manifest everything. When I mean everything, I mean everything. Good, bad, indifferent, That's what we do. I'm kind of like one of those people. I manifest vaguely sometimes, and I get vague. When I want to manifest, things very pointed to the point, and I get them. And sometimes we don't manifest because we truly don't want that. There's a part of us that wants it. There's a part of us that says, yeah, I want that. Yeah, I want to have a car. I want to. But, what I find is a lot of people can't manifest because somebody told them that they couldn't. Because somebody else says, why do you want that? It's, as soon as someone says, why do you want that? It just tears you down. Number one, it's none of their business. But that happens a lot. That happens a lot. And a lot of us, we have to be, our dream and our desires, has to be bigger than somebody else's, negative, somebody else's non-desirable dream. So when we write down, a lot of you who are on this live stream, a lot of you who are listening to the show are very successful in your own rights. Now, once you obtain one successful opportunity, once you get to that place where you've done well, it's time to reset another one. Don't get stuck and don't stay in the same place too long. Now, as you created the abundance where you are at, you have to move into the next phase of it. And that next phase is creating something else. Human beings love to create. We are creating creatures. We love to create. We will create until the day we die. We will create after we die. That's what we do. And that's super important that we know that we are creators all the time. So, creation. we're co-creators. Work with somebody. So here's another thing when I was talking about. A lot of us want to attain and get things in our lives, but sometimes we find that we can't do it by ourselves. So we team up, we collaborate with other people, which is powerful medicine, powerful when you collaborate with people. It's kind of like the story I was telling about the 49ers when they were out west when people were digging for gold. Here's people digging for gold and they had some cash in their hands, and then here's some other people who weren't digging for gold, but they were actually digging for gold in a different way. They were selling coffee. They were selling meals. They were selling entertainment. They were selling all kinds of crazy stuff. And then these people over here doing their thing. But yeah, these are these two dreams. Maybe this one didn't start off as a dream. But it developed into a goal, into a dream. And from that point, it keeps snowballing and changing. Okay, so now coffee, food, we keep moving. Gold digging. I stepped away. I lost my equipment. Guy moves over, digs deeper. So sometimes some of us create some really cool stuff, but that's all we do. We create the idea, and we don't go any further. But once you create the idea and you manifest that idea, it's in the universe. It's rolling around in the universe. There's nothing new under the sun. You've heard that before. So your idea, how many of you have actually watched TV and said, oh, my God, I created that. That was my idea, blah, blah, blah. Damn, I wish I had the money. I would have done it. But here's the thing. When you collaborate and you co-create with somebody else, you can do amazing things. And that's what's so important when you collaborate and co-create and work together and create that synergy with other people. Because that synergy creates more stuff, amazing things. So you may be the idea person in your manifestation, but there might be somebody else who is actually better at tending to your garden. Okay? Now, most successful people start by themselves, but eventually they start to bring on people who have similar goals and similar dreams. They start to manifest together. They start to work together. Most people who are very, very, very wealthy have teams of people who work with them. And this person delegates and they create more ideas, and together they work together. But right now we're working, on you, just getting you started, getting you off the launching pad. But getting off the launching pad is understanding that some of your ideas will and won't, depending how specific you're going to be about your dream, what you want. Some of us want so much and so many things, but I would say start with one really good thing, something that you really wanted to. Ask yourself, do you really want to be a financial freak? Because for some people they say that, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they really want that. Because somewhere in their mind going, if I want to be a financial free, that means I have to put a lot of time and effort into these things. And these things start to roll around in our head. Do you see what I'm calling? A lot of us want a lot of things, but what happens is we start to think about all the things that roll around our head, and start remembering what our parents used to say. Boom! Our parents say, "Oh no, you don't want that. You just want to get a degree and get a job. You be like everybody else." For some people, that's fine. That works, and I'm not discounting that at all. But there's another group of people who just they can't. Steve Jobs, he's one of those people. He passed away now, but he's one of those people who didn't go. He didn't finish school. But he was amazed, his ability. His mind was so out there and creating and developing and nurturing. But he had other people who knew how to take his dream and move it forward. There are a lot of people like that if you do your research. And a lot of us need to study other people. And it's one of the things, when you do the work that you do, study other people. Study other people who do what you do or do what you want to do or things that you want to be like them. Because you know what? You'll learn a lot. You'll learn a lot because there's a lot of mistakes that they have already done that you don't have to do. But some of us are so strong-headed we want to reinvent the wheel, and it just slows us down. But so for those of you who are creating jobs for yourselves, amazing. There's opportunities everywhere. I don't care who you are, what you look like, what you sound like. There's opportunities everywhere. I'm taking courses too because I want to learn. I want to get back, and I want to be in the swing. I want to be in the know. I want to be moving forward. I want to be able to learn and digest and move forward. I don't know everything, which is good because I want to learn more. I want to be open to the possibilities, and that's something that a good business person, I believe, does. Or a person who goes, why do you go to school? Why do you go to college? Because you want to learn more, right? You want to progress. You want to move forward. You want to get into the place where you need to be. Because if you don't, then you stay where you're at. So, when I'm talking about that dream, I think we're pretty specific about what the dream is. Now, creating the event, I think we're pretty specific about that event. Now you have to create the feeling. So, how many of you own your own business? Those of you who are on the live stream, can you guys just give me a little thumbs up or a little whatever and just let me know real quick? Because I'm kind of curious, and I'm just kind of curious how many people own their own business. People punching in there if they're still there. You're still there. Hello out there. Okay, there's one. Okay, we have one business person. Okay, that's fine. But to be in business, it's a very unique person. It's a very unique person who is willing to go through a lot of suffering once, or twice or three times. Somebody who's open to ideas. Somebody who has an idea that's just they can't sleep, which is amazing. That's what you want to be like. Now, I'm going to say that most of you are just have graduated some kind of educational level, either high school or college. Then I'm going to go with that. Now, you can also manifest, working for somebody. You can create, job opportunities. You can create, advancement and placement. But you have to play the game. All this is a game. I'm sorry, but did I not say that in the beginning? Well, it is a game. Manifesting is a form of game. Job development is a form of game. You have to be part of it. You have to know how to play. You have to know how to maneuver through this river, through this creek, through this hurricane, through this tornado. You have to be able to know how to move through that. So those of you who are out there and those of you who are manifesting well, good. And if you're having struggles with manifesting, then you need to sit down and have somebody read your story, read your paper, give it to the person who's very close to you and have them read it to you. Read my dream. What do you think about my dream? But here's one thing I want you to say. When you ask them to do that, don't ask them what they think. Ask them how they feel. Because if you ask somebody what they think, they'll give you all kinds of opinions, and they'll give you all kinds of answers. But if you ask somebody how they feel about what you're doing or about your dream, they'll give you a completely different answer. Well, I feel that, this is pretty cool. I feel that maybe you should do this. Now, you tell someone to think, well, I think you shouldn't do this. I think you're wasting your time. You're inviting in how you speak and how you talk to people and how you engage with people is super important. Okay? So as they read that, it's important to know. All right? So hopefully some of this stuff helps you. Hopefully some of this is good for you. Hopefully you're moving into the direction where you can go. And I'm glad those of you who stuck around for this show tonight, because I think it's pretty powerful when we have that feeling of what we're creating. It's pretty simple. It's 1, 2, 3. Dream, construct the event, and the feeling. If you have a hard time with that, get a hold of me. I'll show you how to do that. Now, the biggest thing that I would welcome you to do is to be open to the possibilities. Be open to the things. And if you're looking for a business, for example, then what I would suggest is, I would suggest that you would sit down and make a list. Make a list of things that you like, things that you want to do, things that you want to be involved in. So, for example, you want to be in business, right? First of all, write down your personality, what you are, how you look at yourself, what you're like. Because I'm going to tell you something, okay? When you're in business, there's a time to be very serious, and there's a time to be an actor. There's a time to be the show. There's a time to be present. There's a time to be, not phony, okay? I'm not talking about being phony. I'm talking about being more than what you are, an extension of who you are, an extension of what you look like. Now, when I do these shows, I'm kind of like this, but there's also an extension of me that becomes very serious, becomes very, hyper-focused on what I'm talking about, what I believe in. And that's the thing, is what I believe in and what I've learned and what I'm manifesting to. So I'm also asking people to be that way too. So it's kind of like when I do my speaking engagements that I do, the few that I've done. But, I can't be me on stage because it's not how it works. You have to be more than you. You have to be in presence. You have to be performing and sharing and being completely different than how you would be on a normal set. On a normal day, I'm pretty quiet, pretty laid back, I'm pretty like reserved. But, when you put a microphone in front of me and a camera and an audience, something happens to me. Something elevates, something changes, something goes out what's inside my spirit, inside this hollow bone that I am. I'm in my element at that moment. I become a gift from the universe to whoever I'm talking to. So that's what I like about being in business for myself. When I worked for others, I didn't have that same feeling. Even when I worked for my father, I didn't have that same feeling. I felt like I was always in the shadows. But when I worked for myself, when I manifested my own business, there was an accomplishment. There was a sense of mine. There was a sense of I'm doing it. There's a sense of me. Hey, I did this when I owned my landscaping company. Hey, how does it look? Is it beautiful? If it wasn't beautiful, then I would figure out a way to make it beautiful, make it better. So there was a part of me that wanted to move into that space where I'm actually, open in receiving. So when you're on stage, there's an aspect of you that is not you, but it is you. It's you extended. I guess that's the best way to do it. You're extended and you're somebody else and you're open. And those of you who are listening to the show, and I really appreciate you for being here because it's important. I'm going to take a caller here and see what they say. And, okay, 1 second. Hello, caller. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Hi, I was listening.
Oh, just listening. Okay, I'll just put you back on hold then. Thanks. All right, never mind then. She's just listening, and I appreciate you listening. Thank you very much. So, manifestation is as unique as the individual. But it has to be very specific and very to the point and very, 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 very detail-oriented. It's like the clothes we're wearing. Somebody had an idea. Somebody had, a desire to make this shirt. And they had to be detail-oriented. They can't just say, well, I'm just going to put it together. Somebody practiced. Somebody worked hard. It's kind of like the same thing with your craft. When you're working on your craft, when you're manifesting, you have to work on it. You have to scratch it, start over, begin, blah, blah, blah. Because that's how it is. It is. Things don't just pop out of thin air. Some things do. But anyways, but you know what I'm saying. Even this envelope that I have right here, somebody had to create that in their mind. Somebody said, hey, I'm going to create an envelope before envelopes were created. I don't even know when envelopes were created, but either way. This lighter that I have in front of me. As simple and as cheap as this little lighter is, there was a process, a manifestation in this little lighter. There was a creation process in this little lighter right here. A whole group of people or one person or one drawer or one sketcher, somebody had to sketch this plan of this little lighter and design it to work and create the mechanisms that go in there. And you can't say, I'm just going to create a lighter. No, somebody actually literally had to think about what that would look like, how it would feel in someone's hand, how that would look. Why is the color scheme black and red? Someone thought about this. There has to be a negative and a positive button, or switch in the back so you can let so much fuel go through. There's a lot that goes into just this little lighter right here. This lighter that I'm holding in my hand, there's a lot going on. So imagine how you're manifesting. Are you manifesting as detail-oriented as this lighter was created? Because this lighter went through a very rigorous process in order for it to be developed. And, even though I bought it at Big Lots, where a lot of things end up there because there's some fault or something's not right with it. But either way, it's not the top of the line lighter. And there are lighters who are much better than this one. But the point is that this lighter, okay, and this is what I'm trying to get in about manifestation here, is that somebody had a dream about creating the better lighter. Okay, and this lighter is not the best lighter, but it was someone's dream. In someone's dream, someone else grabbed that dream and created an inferior lighter. Okay, but they created the event because they said, this lighter has to be long because we're going to create people having cookouts. And when we have the little cookouts, we're going to be able to, so people don't burn themselves, they're going to be able to move it. And that's what I'm talking about, creating the event. So when they're creating the event with this lighter, Now I can take this long shaft lighter and put it in there. You know, you can do a lot more with a long shaft lighter. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. But it was a dream. But then the feeling is, when I have this lighter, the feeling is I can light anything. I can light the stove. I can light a cigar. You know, I can light the coals. And from this particular lighter, I can create a whole environment of a barbecue, a whole environment of whatever I want to do. Earlier in the show, I lit this candle right here in memory of all the people who had transitioned and died and passed away. And, you know, that little lighter, you know, brought the heat out of this candle. But there's a feeling there. See, this lighter created a feeling, created an emotion for me personally without even thinking about it. Somebody else's dream of creating this lighter created a whole process for me to light this candle and I didn't even think about the lighter, but you know what? This lighter is an integral part to my life. It's kind of like, you know, when we're talking about, you know, the gold rushers and the digging, somebody else had an idea. One day someone needed to light a little candle. One day someone needed a firework. One day a campfire. One day might need light when we're stuck in a cave. That's the feelings. Those are the feelings I'm talking about. That's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to get at. And that can go with anything. That can go with anything. You know, this can of soda, not soda, but, you know, sparkling water, you know, this gel pen. All these things, somebody's dream, someone's manifestation. So that's why I say become and get very specific on what you're going to do. Being specific and getting to the nitty-gritty of what you really want to accomplish is important. Because if not, you just spin around, you go in circles. And then you get frustrated, then you get upset, and then you just drop, and then you quit. It's easier for us to quit because, you know what? We can't see the light at the end of the tunnel because, you know, what happens is it's that old stinking program in the back of our mind. Oh, you can't do it. It's too much work. You know, we have excuses. And our excuses will always take us down the wrong road. So, like this lighter, the theory of the lighter, I just gave you the story of the lighter. You're the lighter. What kind of lighter do you want to be? What do you want to fire up? What do you want to turn on? What do you want to engulf? What do you want to just, you know, bring light to? That lighter has a million uses. A million uses. And, you know, the person who dreamt this lighter probably didn't even think of that way. But they thought practicality. But yet we have a lighter now. You're going, Iggy, what are we talking about lighters? I thought we were talking about us. Because you are an aspect of everything that is around you. Everything around you, just look at your life. Look around you. Look at the people you associate with. Look at the books you read. You know, what kind of music or tapes or CDs or MP3s you listen to. You're a product of your environment. You're a product of where you come from. No, it's not a bad thing. It's just a readjustment. Most of us don't even know that we're in a situation because we're just in it. But when we want to manifest our dreams, our money, our abundance, you know, ask yourself, do I really want money? Do I really want abundance? What do I want? What is it that I really want? Maybe just want to pay my bills. So manifesting that is important. Now, I know that some of you want readings, but I'm not doing readings tonight because I wanted to stay on the topic. But I want to finish up, finish the story with my dad. So, my dad leaving the restaurant business, and then he becomes a real estate developer, or investor, mostly investor. And now he has his apartments that he works on. I don't know where his dream goes from here. I don't know where he's going to manifest into, but now he's in a place where he's going to do things the way he wants to do them. Now he's done his time in the restaurant. Now he's taking care of his buildings, fixing the walls, fixing, the lights, the ceilings, whatever needs to be done, the roofs. But that's his manifestation. He's moving into one dream after the other. But it's what he wants. And he's specific about it. He knows every day what he needs to do the next day. He knows where he's going to be and how he's going to be the next day. because he doesn't just go aimlessly through the day, wandering and wondering. And, he's moving into another development, another idea, another way. And I look forward to see what he's going to do in the future. And, I've learned from him. And there's some things that I take that I learn from him, and there's some things that I don't. They don't apply to my life, some of them, and some of them, they're wonderful ideas, wonderful ways. But once I get past my programming, once I get past the things that are in my head, the things that hold me back, the things that I believe hold me back, then I can move into another place, another evolution of who I am and how I see the world. It's important that we, look at things, in the moment. Because as we dream, we've got to be in the moment about our dreams, about what's happening. So many of us sometimes forecast forward too far ahead, and then we go nowhere. We get stuck in the dream. The dream without action is just a dream. It's just like going to sleep and waking up. No, dream with action, and that action is constructing the event and feeling the event. So I hope I gave you some nuggets and some things to think about, because I don't have all the answers, and no one really does, but we all have nuggets that we share with the world. We have insights within us that we share with everybody. That's why our show's called With Insights. And through the work that I do, the shamanic practice that I do is understanding everything that's around us, everything that's with us, everything that's in spirit with us, in communion with us. As we manifest, we also have to understand that other things are manifesting. The tree manifests, the grass manifests. They don't have the conscious mind like maybe we do, but they have a conscience in their own right, in their own way. They have their own existence in their own way. And, the tree is just as valuable as you are. And the tree also gathers and understands in its own way. The chair you sit on, the people you talk to, everybody's creating constantly, all the time. So this world is constantly in flux. We're always in flux. We're always in and out, moving, changing, thinking, trading, moving, selling. That's what we do. That's what humans do. That's what we do. That's how we are, and that's how we create. So hopefully, I've given you some, food for thought, something to think about as we're winding down here. I want to take a quick break, real quick. Just a 16-second break.
You are listening to WithinsightsRadio.com on the Blog Talk Radio Network. Your free online holistic publication resource radio for trusting your intuition, achieving self-discovery, and following your soul self.
All right, well, we're back, and I want to thank everybody for tuning in and listening to the show tonight. Adriana's on vacation. I hope she's having a good time, and we'll see her next week sometime. But, that's where we're at today. That's our show. I'm glad that, I was able to share with you the little insight that I have and some of the feelings that I was running through there and the things that I wanted to share. And I hope you enjoy the show, too. If you ever have questions or want to get a hold of me, you can reach me at iggygarcia.com. We can sit there for a session. We can talk. We can do shamanic work. We can just share. But the point is, I'm available. I'm available to, be there and share and talk with you. And you have my information now. So you guys, I want to thank everybody for joining me tonight. It's been a great topic. I'm glad I got to share a story about my father. It was a kind of a brief story, but it was a story nonetheless. And I think it got to the point. I got to the point what I needed to share. And, he's an amazing person. My mom's an amazing person, and I'm grateful for them, and I learned a lot from them. But with that, I just want to say, have a good evening. Go into cats coming in here. Got to be careful. So, but thanks very much for everybody for tuning in. We'll see everybody soon tomorrow at 7 p.m. Lion's Lair with Adriana Arts. She's going to have her show. Yeah, that's her. She's going to be talking with Joost van Dyke. He's going to be talking about his about his conspiracy theories and all kinds of things. I think I'm losing my voice. Either way, excuse me. I'm just laughing over here. But if you have questions, if you need more, connection, let me know. You know how to get a hold of me now on Facebook, Messenger, or iggygarcia.com. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Be well. I hope you enjoyed the show, and I will see everybody tomorrow on the Lions Lair, as I am the co-host on that show. And we'll talk to you soon. Peace and love.